Hi, it's Frank, and today we're going to be covering the California CDL Hazmat test. We'll focus on the specific knowledge you need, covering federal regulations and California's stricter state requirements for safety, routing, and procedures. Let's get straight into the questions. A new hazmat endorsement applicant in California must first complete what mandatory step? Complete an entry-level driver training ELDT hazmat theory course. Federal law requires all new hazmat endorsement applicants to complete the mandatory ELDT before taking the written test. Let's continue. What is the primary purpose of the Transportation Security Administration TSA threat assessment? To determine if the driver poses a security risk and is eligible to haul hazmat, the TSA must verify that the applicant is not a security threat before granting the endorsement. Moving on. When transporting two different Table 1 materials, e.g., Class 2.3 poison gas and Class 7 radioactive, how must you placard the vehicle? You must display a placard for both Table 1 materials. Table 1 materials are dangerous enough that each class requires its own specific placard regardless of quantity. Time for the next question. Where must shipping papers be kept when the driver is outside a placarded vehicle? On the driver's seat or in a visible pouch on the driver's door. This standard location ensures emergency responders can quickly find the papers. Next up, what is the minimum aggregate gross weight of Table 2 materials that triggers the placarding requirement? 1,001 pounds, 454 kilograms. If the total weight of all non-Table 1 hazmat reaches this level, the vehicle must be placarded. Let's continue. If a motor vehicle containing hazmat is on a public highway shoulder, when must it be attended? At all times, unless the driver is performing incident and necessary duties like checking tires. The driver must remain in attendance unless actively performing a required duty like a pre-trip or tire check. Moving on. What does attended mean in the context of a placarded vehicle on a public roadway? The person in charge is on the vehicle, awake, and not in the sleeper berth, or within 100 feet with an unobstructed view. The attendant must be able to see the vehicle clearly and intervene if necessary. Time for the next question. Which hazard class is forbidden from being loaded in the same vehicle with cyanides, Class 6.1? Acids, Class 8, or other strong oxidizers as they react to create deadly gas. Acids react with cyanides to create extremely poisonous hydrogen cyanide gas. Next up. What is the maximum distance a vehicle placarded with explosives, divisions 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3, can be parked from a bridge or tunnel? 300 feet. Explosives must be kept at least 300 feet away from these structures as a safety precaution. Let's continue. Which documents must a driver have on them when transporting explosives? Divisions 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3. Shipping papers, written emergency instructions, and the vehicle's route plan. These three documents are required for high-risk explosives loads. Moving on. When transporting an oxidizer, Class 5, why must you separate it from organic or flammable materials? Oxidizers supply oxygen, which can accelerate a fire or cause combustibles to spontaneously ignite. Oxidizers must be segregated to prevent a dangerous chemical reaction or rapid fire. Time for the next question. How must the basic description appear on the hazmat shipping paper? ID number, proper shipping name, hazard class, and packing group. This specific four-part sequence is mandatory for the hazmat description. Next up, if a placarded vehicle is being fueled, what must the driver do? Turn off the engine, and a person must remain in control of the fueling nozzle. The engine must be shut off to eliminate an ignition source. Let's continue. What is the required distance a placard must be visible from the direction it faces? Readily visible, no specific minimum distance is mandated. The placard simply must be clearly seen by anyone approaching the vehicle from the center of the road. Moving on. If a shipment contains 800 pounds of flammable liquid, Table 2, and no other hazmat, what placarding is required? None, because the total weight is under the 1,001 pound threshold. The load must be 1,001 pounds or more to require the flammable placard. Time for the next question. What is the required minimum tread depth for tires on a vehicle transporting Class 2.3 poison gas? A tire must not have a break in the fabric or a flat spot, i.e. must be in perfect condition. For highly hazardous materials, the tires must be free of any defect that could lead to failure. Next up, the placard for corrosives Class 8 is what color? White on the top half and black on the bottom half. This specific two-tone design identifies the corrosive hazard. Let's continue. If the hazmat shipping paper is more than one page, what must the first page state? The total number of pages in the shipping paper. This ensures that emergency personnel know they have received the complete document. Moving on. When is the dangerous placard permitted? When non-bulk packages of 2 or more Table 2 materials are required, and the total is 1,001 pounds or more. This is the mixed load rule for lower hazard materials. Time for the next question. What must a driver do upon discovering a leaking radioactive material package? Immediately cordon off the area, notify authorities, and move to a safe distance. The driver must follow the emergency procedures to contain the spread of radiation and ensure their own safety. Next up, which materials are generally accepted from placarding requirements? Limited quantities, ORMD materials, and non-bulk combustible liquids. These are considered low-hazard materials that do not typically require a placard. Let's continue. What must be displayed on the placard holder of a permanently mounted cargo tank when empty and unpurged? The identification number, UNNA number. Even an empty tank that has not been purged still poses a hazard, requiring the ID number to be displayed. Moving on. According to federal regulations, the driver must stop and check the vehicle's tires every how often when transporting a placarded load? Every 2 hours or every 100 miles, whichever is less. This frequent check ensures tire safety and prevents failure, which is especially dangerous with hazmat. Time for the next question. In California, vehicles transporting flammable liquids or explosives must travel on designated or preferred hazmat routes highways. California mandates specific routing to avoid tunnels, congested areas, and certain roads. Next up, what is the highest level of California-specific documentation required for the driver to carry? A legible copy of the carrier's valid California Hazardous Materials Transportation License, or other document bearing the license number. California requires a state-level HMTA for carriers transporting placardable quantities, and a copy must be in the vehicle. Let's continue. When transporting flammable gas, Class 2.1 in cylinders, how must the cylinders be secured? In an upright position or loaded horizontally side to side, secured against movement. Cylinders must be protected from rolling or moving during transport. Moving on. If a leak occurs during the transport of a poison inhalation hazard PIH, what is the driver's primary responsibility? To safely isolate the hazard, notify authorities, and take direction from the Emergency Response Guidebook ERG. Immediate isolation and contacting emergency services are critical for a PIH leak. Time for the next question. What color are the pages in the ERG that provide the initial guide to emergency actions based on the ID number? Yellow bordered pages. The yellow section is used to look up a material by its UNNA identification number. Next up. When must a driver test the pressure relief valve on a cargo tank carrying liquid hazmat? Pressure relief valves are not tested by the driver. This is a maintenance function. Drivers are only required to inspect the physical condition of the valve, not test its function. Let's continue. What must a driver do when leaving a hazmat placarded vehicle unattended in a residential area? The driver cannot leave the vehicle unattended in a residential area for any time. Federal law forbids leaving a placarded vehicle unattended near homes, schools, or public places. Moving on. What should you use to fight a bulk liquid flammable fire? A dry chemical extinguisher or proper foam, Class B fire extinguisher. Water is generally ineffective on flammable liquid fires. Time for the next question. What must be on the outside of a hazmat package? Labels, proper shipping name, and the UNNA identification number. These markings are essential for quick identification of the material and its hazard. Next up. In California, why are hazmat drivers restricted from using certain tunnels? To reduce the risk of a catastrophic incident in an enclosed space with limited evacuation routes. Tunnels pose a high risk because a major incident could trap people and fumes. Let's continue. What is the required distance you must keep from an open fire or flame when transporting explosives? 50 feet. Explosives must be kept at least 50 feet away from any open flame or fire. Moving on. When can two different Division 1.1 mass explosives materials be carried together? Only if they are compatible as specified in the HMR Hazardous Materials Regulations. Explosives are divided into compatibility groups, and only compatible groups may be mixed. Time for the next question. If a poison gas Class 2.3 placard is required, which other placard is often also required due to the PIH nature? The Poison Inhalation Hazard PIH placard. Poison gases often meet the criteria to be labeled as PIH, requiring both placards. Next up. What must be checked on the package closure during loading? Ensure all closures are secure and packages are properly braced to prevent movement. Secure closures prevent leaks and bracing prevents shifting. Let's continue. What does the notation limited quantity mean on a shipping paper? The material is packaged in small enough quantities to be accepted from some rules. Limited quantity items are exempt from placarding and certain other documentation requirements. Moving on. When coupling a trailer to a hazmat placarded tractor, when must the airlines be secured? After coupling, before the vehicle is moved. The airlines must be properly secured to prevent accidental separation and braking issues. Time for the next question. What is the danger associated with mixtures of certain cleaning acids, Class 8? They may react to produce toxic or corrosive fumes upon mixing. Mixing incompatible acids is a common cause of dangerous fume exposure. Next up, what should a driver do if they suspect a package containing flammable solid Class 4 is leaking? Isolate the package immediately, keep it dry, and notify dispatch/authorities. Flammable solids can react with moisture, so keeping them dry is critical. Let's continue. The emergency response phone number on the shipping paper must be monitored by a person who is knowledgeable about the hazmat, has immediate access to emergency response information, and is on call 24 hours. This person must be ready to provide guidance to emergency responders at all times. Moving on. What is the maximum distance a vehicle placarded for hazmat can be parked from the traveled part of a highway? 5 feet. Parking a placarded vehicle further than 5 feet from the edge of the traveled roadway is generally prohibited by federal regulation, 49 CFR 397.71. Time for the next question. What is the purpose of the Transport Index TI on a radioactive package label? Indicates the maximum radiation level at 1 meter from the package surface. The TI is used to plan loading and ensure safe separation distances. Next up, what is the primary difference between a combustible liquid and a flammable liquid? Flammable liquids ignite at lower temperatures below 141 degrees Fahrenheit than combustible liquids. The difference is defined by their respective flash points. Let's continue. What must a driver do upon arriving at a safe haven? Notify the company that the vehicle has arrived and is secured. The driver must communicate their location and confirm the vehicle is safely parked. Moving on. What must be on the shipping paper in the column immediately following the basic description? The total quantity of the material. The quantity and type of packaging must follow the basic description. Time for the next question. When checking the tires of a placarded vehicle, what must be free of damage? Tires must be free of cuts, scrapes, and show no signs of rubbing or underinflation. Tire integrity is paramount, especially for hazmat loads. Next up, what is the required visibility for the placards on a vehicle? They must be clear, legible, and visible from the center of the road. Placards must be clearly visible from all 4 sides of the vehicle. Let's continue. If a vehicle is carrying liquefied natural gas, LNG, a cryogenic liquid, what is a necessary pre-trip check? Ensure the pressure relief devices and all valves are functional and free of damage. The integrity of the pressure system is vital for cryogenic liquids. That wraps up our practice session for the California CDL Hazmat test. Keep reviewing this material, and you'll be ready for your test.